Thanks for joining us for our Wilson County Wednesday. Susan Lynn has captured the first Wednesday of the month, and we are glad to see her. I can only imagine with, I believe this morning it was 41 days until the election, that you are very, very busy, and everybody wants your ear right now, and I'm sure you're trying to get out and meet as many people as you can. So thanks for taking the time to join us this morning. We'll record this, post it on our website. Most of you know that already. You can get straight to it from our homepage. If you would just please maybe mute anything around you that might be distracting during the meeting. Put your questions in the chat box if you would. Marla kind of helps me stay on track, and there's a lot going on in Tennessee, and Susan is right in the thick of it, and we're glad for your time. Thanks for joining us this morning. Good morning, Susan.
Hey, good morning, Mark. I am actually still arranging my screen here. Mark, would I be able to share my screen? Because there's just a few things I'd love to show folks.
Hold on.
Can I do that?
Let me think about that for a minute. Marla, can she share her screen?
Can I do that?
She'll be able to share her screen, yeah.
I think that'll be all right.
I should be able to? Okay, I just have to pick then which screen. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Susan Lynn, and I don't know if there's anybody on the call who I don't know very well, but I'm Susan Lynn, and I represent the 57th District in the Tennessee General Assembly, which is primarily Mount Juliet, Gladeville, the northern part of Lebanon, and a little bit of Old Hickory. In fact, I live in Old Hickory in Wilson County with my husband, Michael, who's also on this call. And I represent you in the General Assembly. In the General Assembly, I serve as chairman of the Finance, Ways and Means Committee, which I'm very grateful to the speaker for entrusting those duties to me. And people often say, you know, what do you all do? We're not like the federal legislators. We are not in session year round. Session, we really try to keep it to at least a minimum of 3 months, maybe 4 months. And then we all go back to our regular lives. We're just regular Tennesseans, just like you. As a matter of fact, I work for a company here in Mount Juliet, right in the Foster building, right across from Lowe's. I'm the company controller there. And but my role in the General Assembly, like I said, I serve as chairman of the Finance, Ways and Means Committee. And I also serve on a few other committees, and they keep me pretty busy all year long. We have a lot of Zoom meetings now that COVID has hit us. Otherwise, I'd be going downtown quite often. But I serve on the Naming, Designating, and Private Acts Committee, the House Rules Committee, the Joint Fiscal Review Committee, which is a committee where we review no-bid state contracts to make sure there was no impropriety going on with those no-bid contracts. Sometimes the state needs to buy something that is completely unique, and there's only one company that may perform that service. So we review that contract just to make sure that there's no funny business going on. I serve on the board of directors of the State Museum, and as you recall, earlier this year we had to make the very difficult decision to close the museum for a time with COVID. It is open now, taking careful protections to deal with COVID, but that was a very difficult decision. I love the State Museum so much, and it's absolutely a great place for Tennesseans to go. And our former State Museum was pretty pitiful, and so we had voted a couple of few years ago to fund the construction of a new state museum, and great people deserve a great building, and it is a great building. And if you haven't been there, please take your friends and family there. It's absolutely beautiful. I also serve on the board of Launch Tennessee, which is a quasi-government agency that helps entrepreneurs and helps them find seed money for whatever innovative technology or medical device that they are trying to launch in Tennessee. It's a special focus on Tennessee to bring that technology and that brain power to Tennessee. I serve as a fiduciary on the state pension fund, which a fiduciary means that myself and Chairman Watson, my counterpart in the Senate, and the state treasurer, we are all legally responsible for the state pension fund and its performance. And I am happy to say that Tennessee's state pension fund is up there right at the top. We are the third best funded pension fund in the nation. And there's not much margin between 1, 2, and 3. We are, you can consider us the best funded pension fund in the nation. We have a very strong pension fund. And what does that mean to you? That means when we're doing our state budget, we don't have to take a huge chunk of money and put it into the budget just to fund our retirees in the state of Tennessee. We can actually use those dollars that come in for taxes to fund normal everyday programs that help Tennesseans and not be funding the lives of our retirees, because that is funded by the pension fund. I also serve on the state insurance committee, where we deal with the state employees' health insurance and make decisions about the state employees' health insurance, which also feeds into a little bit our locals' insurance and or our school district's insurance if they have opted to come into the state insurance plan. Not every locality and school district has opted to do that, but for those that do, we make decisions about that. And then one of the last things I serve on is the Greater Nashville Regional Council, which I was elected by my peers in the area to serve there as the House member to be on that board. And what that is, it's a collection of county mayors and city mayors who meet and work on issues that are going on in their counties and cities in this greater Nashville area. And there's a lot of funding that comes from the federal government, there's state funding, and they make decisions on how things are going to be funded. One of the things they do is roads. They make decisions on, what roads do we need locally, and what roads do we want to, they create a list of priority, and they give that list to TDOT, and they say, these are our priorities. These are our priorities. Now, I'm not on the subcommittee that votes on those priorities, but I do help bring to light our needs on this committee. And Mayor Hutto is there, Mayor Ash is there, Mayor Haggerty is there, our Watertown is there, and they do a wonderful job bringing to light your concerns about our roads and the state funding that we need. Now remember, that is dealing with state funding. When it comes to the local roads and local funding, our county mayor with the county commission or a city mayor with the city commission, they are going to make those decisions. The state does not dictate to them. They are going to make the decisions on which roads to improve with their money. And they kind of do the same thing. They just make a list of priorities. Usually safety is number one, of course. Congestion will be second. And then of course, economic needs, say something just has sprung up. Maybe we're going to get a huge factory and there was a road that needs to be improved because those heavy trucks are going to crush that road or whatever. They are going to make those decisions. And actually there is some state funding from ECD that can help with needs like that. And so our local government will, talk to the state economic development department and seek funding for those projects. So that's what I do. And one of the biggest things going on in the office is still unemployment. And I do want to tell you that Tennessee sought a grant, and we did get the grant. And we have an extra $300 a week for unemployment right now. Remember, there was an extra $600 a week that was a great help to folks who are unemployed. Well, we sought a grant, and that has been supplanted now by a $300 a week extra grant because the $600 ran out. And so we are, very much trying to help people with unemployment. And I get these calls every day. In fact, just before this, I got a message on Facebook. Someone sent me a private message and said, can you help me with unemployment today? And I said, absolutely, we'll give you a call. I do want to say, though, if you know someone who needs that kind of help, please have them call the office. I cannot watch social media all day, either Twitter or Facebook. So please, the best way to get help is to call the office. My assistant, Mary, is absolutely amazing. Mark, you love Mary. She is amazing, and she is just a great help. Another help that's going on right now is the Department of Finance and Administration and the Governor's COVID Committee has developed a program to give extra money for businesses to try to help them survive COVID. And I'm trying to get there right now. And Mark, I'm trying to see, how can I share my screen? Let me try to do this.
If anybody needs that, your office, Mary sent that to us as well. And there's money set aside for restaurants, those in the travel industry and the entertainment industry. And that was, I know a lot of people appreciate what the General Assembly and the governor did, making those.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we're really happy to do that. Let me get to my Facebook page. I put a lot of these things on my Facebook page. I also try to post them in Mount Juliet Today and Hit Mount Juliet too. And so let me get to this program. You're all small businesses. And so there's a lot of stuff on my Facebook page. Sorry about that. But here it is. So there is a deadline on this. It's September 25th. And there is a tool. And if you click here, you'll get to the tool. And you can figure out if your small business is eligible for this. So it's just a few simple questions. Your annual gross sales, are they $10 million or less? And you just go through. Is your business registered to collect sales tax? Yes, go through. And then you choose your type of business. For the company I work for, we are not eligible. Our business is not included in this list. But if you were, you would just answer that question. And then once you answer and they find out that you are eligible, it's going to take you to the form to apply. So that is a really, really helpful program. You'll get a couple of $1,000s there. And Tennessee, I know it's modest and all, but Tennessee really wants to try to help our small businesses survive in the best way that we can. And let me focus on something else here, Mark, too. There is an ad hoc committee that the Speaker of the House and the Senate appointed to look at the governor's executive order powers. A lot of folks have been upset. They either want the governor to be stronger with his COVID response, or they feel the governor has overreached his COVID response. And so as you can see here, we're going to have a law professor from the University of Tennessee, the state attorney general, we're going to have TEMA, we're going to have members of the governor's office come before this special committee, and kudos to Representative Clark Boyd, my counterpart in Wilson County. He was appointed to this committee. I had enough on my plate. I didn't need to be on this, but I have full confidence that all of these people are going to do an excellent job because they are really great legislators. But let me show you, this committee is meeting tomorrow. So I want to show you how you can watch this. Again, we're on my Facebook page, and this link right here, when you click on this link, it's going to take you to the General Assembly's website. So it would come up to tomorrow if you click on it tomorrow. And what you'll do is there's a camera right here. You'll just click there and you can watch this committee live. It's meeting at 10 a.m. After the committee's over, if you come back here, you will be able to watch it taped. And that's something we're really proud of in the General Assembly. We feel like we have a lot of transparency. You can watch every meeting live. And you can also get into the General Assembly. It's a misnomer that people cannot get into the legislature. A little bit more difficult to get into the Capitol, but that is the governor. He has the purview over the Capitol. The Speaker of the House and the Senate have the purview of the legislature, and that is the building that they make decisions about. Some other things going on. Tennessee was sued yesterday, I believe it was, or maybe the day before, no, yesterday. We passed a very strong pro-life bill when session ended. And I was actually the sponsor of this bill. It was the governor's heartbeat bill. And one of the provisions of that bill is about RU 486. I'm sure that that rings a bell with a lot of folks. And what that drug is you know, if a woman has a sexual encounter, she didn't use protection, she's afraid that she might get pregnant, she can actually go right to the pharmacy and get a drug, or a clinic, and get a drug called RU 486. There's 2 pills involved in that. And actually, if you take the 1 pill, it doesn't mean that you're going to have an abortion. You have to take both pills. And so what this bill says is that by law, women will have to be informed that once they take the first pill, it is reversible, because a lot of women do take the first pill and then have regret. And so clinics will have to post that it is reversible and give this information to women who are seeking this treatment. We are being sued because the ACLU and others do not want women to have that information, that this procedure is actually reversible. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think you would want women to have as much information as possible. But that is another lawsuit. As you know, we have those lawsuits where we have been successful about the mail-in voting, the mass mail-in voting, and there will not be mass mail-in voting in Tennessee. And people say, you know, what is the difference between mass mail-in voting and absentee voting? Well, absentee voting is a process that we've always had in Tennessee, where you can call up the Election Commission and say, I'm going to be out of town for several months and I still want to vote. How can I do that? And you can request a ballot to be mailed to you. The mass mail-in voting is where a state simply mails a ballot to every single person on the voter rolls. And I can tell you, as someone who really knocks on doors every election, how absolutely inaccurate the voter rolls can be. And it's not the fault of the Election Commission. It's because people move. People, you know, maybe they registered motor voter and they lived in an apartment and now they've moved someplace else. You risk having ballots sent to all these addresses where someone doesn't live and now someone else lives there. There's times when I'm looking at the voter list, there's a couple of families at the same address. Well, I know those 2 families don't live together. They don't. It's just that one family has not changed their address for voting yet. And if ballots were mass mailed, all of those ballots would be mailed to that one household. Well, that's a real risk. You risk that whoever receives those ballots, especially for the family that doesn't live there anymore, may just fill them all out. There's been instances in other states where husbands and wives voted differently from each other. And when the ballots came in the mail, one of the spouses simply filled out both ballots and sent them back in, taking the vote from their mate because their mate didn't vote the same way. And that is simply wrong. The best way to vote, of course, is in person. The Election Commission has amazing safety features to make sure that everyone is safe in this time of COVID. And there really is no more risk than going to Walmart or Publix or wherever else it is that you shop. There truly isn't. Another thing that I wanted to talk about real quick, Mark, and let me bring this down here, are the roads. Listen, if you subscribe to my mail list, I hope you do, you'll get a lot of information about different things that are going on, such as road projects and all of that. So, oh, why can't I bring this down here, Mark? I can't bring this down. So let me stop sharing. Let me stop sharing here. And how do we do that? Mark, help me out. How do we do that? That's right. There it is, Mark. There's my newsletter, and I would be honored to put any of you on my newsletter. I have over 7,000 people in the district on my newsletter, and I'm thrilled to share the information because I truly feel like I want to empower you. I don't want to keep all this information. I want you to have the information, and then you can share it with whomever is in your life that you can share it with. and I receive an awful lot of information. I'm just happy to make that available to everyone. And Mark, can Marla help me out and stop sharing a minute?
In this one, Susan, there are two, this update, this was the one that came on Monday, of course, and there were two items in there that would be of interest, kind of an update for this group and the people that watch it. One is the scope of work is the new diverging diamond interchange at I-40 and Central Pike, and interchange justification study is complete, and it's been approved by the FHWA in Washington. The project is budgeted for preliminary engineering. That's state work, I assume, in fiscal year 20's work program. And then TDOT has already procured a consulting firm, HDR Inc., to design the project, and the survey and design activities are in the early stages. And folks, that's a $20,900,000 project, and that does not include very much of Central Pike on the north or east or west side. Those are actually separate projects.
Right.
And then, of course, the widening of Lebanon Road from Park Glen to Bender's Ferry, and that's almost $7 million. The preliminary engineering funded by the city of Mount Juliet, and they are currently performing the survey and design. The survey is complete, the design is now underway. And then there's quite a long list of the different parts of Highway 109, but if I read this right, it looks like that project is scheduled for completion December of 2021.
That's right. That's right. And these projects, most of these projects are Improve Act projects, and in fact, all of them are Improve Act projects, and they are a great deal of money. I'm really proud that TDOT got to work right away on these projects. And a lot of people ask, you know, how are road projects decided upon? Because everybody feels like, you know, we need a project in our area. Oh, heck, you know, right now I feel like I need my neighborhood street repaved. That's a county project. So, I mean, we all have those feelings. So how are they decided upon? Well, I told you about the Greater Nashville Regional Council. There is a subcommittee there of the county mayors. And what they do is, and the city mayors, they bring their projects, which they've already discussed with their county commission, city commissions, they bring those projects together to what's called a metropolitan planning organization. Every city in our state has a metropolitan planning organization, or every large metropolitan area has a metropolitan planning organization. The rural areas have what's called an RPO, or rural planning organization. And this is where these elected people get together and they talk about their needs, because, you know, there's a pot of money. There's only so much money. Before the Improve Act, there was about $1.7 to $1.8 billion in TDOT's budget. Now we're up to about $2.2 to $2.3 billion. And that money is spent, of course, on projects for the entire state of Tennessee. Would I like to have all that money in my district? I sure would. But of course, we have to apportion those projects across the state of Tennessee. And so how is that done? Well, it's not a political process with the legislature. The suggestions, the recommendations are gathered, and they are prioritized by each MPO. The MPO then gives their list to TDOT. TDOT takes the list from all the MPOs, all of the RPOs, and says, okay, these are the priorities of these local people. Why doesn't TDOT just, you know, make all the decisions? Because they don't live in these local areas. They get the recommendations from these local mayors, and so they understand and they know that these are our needs. And so TDOT takes those recommendations, all those top priorities, and they look at things like safety. Yes, this might be your top priority, Wilson County, but safety-wise, we have a disaster right here, and we've got to move that up for you. That does happen sometimes, and that should happen because safety is always a priority. Then, of course, it is congestion, it is economic development, and also, you know, maintenance at the same time. Maintenance is a part of safety. So That's how TDOT makes those decisions. Now, TDOT keeps their decision-making out of the legislative process. We would probably be holding each other's bills hostage and hijacking things to try to get projects in our district. They don't allow that. So they release the schedule to us in April, and we get to see what these priorities are. However, we still advocate for them. Clark, Mark, and I go to TDOT all the time to explain our priorities. You know, the mayors have given the list, but we further explain our priorities and why they are so important. So once these projects are identified and they're agreed upon and they are added to TDOT's work program, how does it work from there? Because it seems like it takes so long for a project to get built, and it does. In the first year a project's on a work program, engineering is going to be funded. And the engineering also includes environmental studies and the identification of those parcels along the road, if the road's being widened, that TDOT is going to have to purchase in order to complete this project. As you know, on 109, it took a couple of years because people entered into lawsuits. You know, it is, you know, they just didn't feel they were, you know, getting enough money for putting a highway in their front yard. And, you know, I probably would feel the same way. But TDOT just tried to be fair. There was an appraisal process, there was an appeal process, but sometimes it does go to court. They try to avoid that because that will hold things up for the project, but that can happen. So we get the environmental studies done, the engineering, the parcels are identified, all the property owners are notified, there are appraisals done, they are notified of how much they're going to get for their property. It goes back and forth. You know, sometimes they just say, okay, that sounds fair to me. Other times they say, that's not fair to me because I have a special circumstance. And they'll call me too, and I'll be an advocate for them in those special circumstances. There's all kinds of things that can happen. I got a million stories for you. So after that environmental studies and the engineering and the properties identified, everybody sent a letter, how much land they're taking, how much they're going to get. Once everybody's in agreement, then the land acquisition is funded, and TDOT actually buys those parcels. Once all those parcels are bought, we then move into utility relocation, and that is funded, and utilities go in there and they move their water lines, their electric lines, their cable, their gas. Every utility has to move their own lines. So once that is done, then they can commence construction. So you say, wow, that sounds like a really long process. It's subsequent budget years. You don't fund a road fully all at once in 1 year because it's going to take a few years. So you can spread those dollars out by funding different stages per year in a budget. And yeah, it does take a long time. It does. But they are trying to be fair. They're trying to listen to the public. People live along those roads. People have had accidents along those roads. And we want to make sure everybody's listened to and that this road is built with the utmost of safety and also respecting property owners' rights. So it is a long process. And that was about it. And does anybody have any questions? I'd love to. I didn't get to talk about special session, but I do have in my email, I sent out an email about special session and all that we did in special session. And just real quick, we did the telemedicine bill. That was just a terrific bill. We passed a bill for liability protection for small business owners. So you don't have to worry about opening up as long as you are not grossly negligent, you are protected. And then we also passed a bill about rioting and police officers. And we just simply strengthened the current law when it comes to rioters and police officers. You know, the law is supposed to deter, protect, and punish. And hopefully by strengthening these laws, it is a deterrent to people, getting out of line and harming police officers and rioting. That's what we're trying to do to deter that. And you know what? It seems to be working because we don't have those riots in Tennessee.
The liability protection that you passed, you said it's for businesses.
Yes.
That's also for, I'm assuming, for churches and schools.
Actually, it is. It's for churches and schools. The Wilson County School District was very happy that we passed that naturally. They had asked me about it because that was a great word for them.
Marla, are you keeping an eye on the chat box? We'll wrap it up here with a few, if there's anybody's got any questions.
Yeah, there's not anything on there.
All right.
Nothing on the chat?
No.
I would like to, I was speaking with Susan earlier this morning, and I think it came up, John, you may have asked Mayor Hutto last Wednesday about a currently unfilled position in the Health Department for Wilson County, where they, if I'm not mistaken, were one restaurant inspector light. Am I close, John?
You mean me?
Yes. Were
I
you?
did not bring that particular issue up.
Okay. I
have talked to Susan earlier this week about a local issue I'm concerned about, and she helped steer me in the right direction.
All right. Well, I apologize. If someone, Mayor Hutto wanted me to pass along that position has been or is going to be posted. And as Susan explained to me this morning, while the state is in a hiring freeze, there are provisions for health, life, safety to get them filled. And Mayor Hutto asked me to pass that along. Looking to see if there was anything else. I don't have anything on my list. Comprehensive report right there, and Mount Juliet, Wilson County, Middle Tennessee in general have really benefited tremendously from the influx of funds available through the Improve Act, and some saw it as political suicide, others saw it as the right thing to do, and Susan was leading the way to get that passed. Wilson County is certainly the recipient of it. I have to tell you, yesterday is the first time I've been on 440 Monday morning, I guess. That's like a brand new road, and I know Connie was there too. So anyway, thank you.
So important. Yeah.
Thank you for what you are doing. Mary's awesome. Get on her list if you're not getting those emails. I find the information, it's always timely, it's relevant. There's also stuff that comes out and helps you understand the governor's executive orders and what that means. And one of the most accessible and easy to get a hold of legislators in the entire General Assembly is our state representative, Susan Lynn.
I'm right down the road, right in the Foster building right now. I'm in my office in the Foster building.
Yeah, honk when you go by. Everybody else, I really appreciate you joining us.
That's awesome.
If I don't see you before, we'll see you. We've got a ribbon cutting on Friday right here in the center of town. And then on Monday, we'll be back for Mount Juliet Monday. And we get the month off to a good start. The Wilson County has extended to follow the governor's guidelines, the mask up or social distance, and the numbers have been working their way down, and we're not very far from getting back down into single digits, I hope. So good to see everybody this morning. We'll post this on social media and on our website. When you see it, hit the share button if you would. I look forward to seeing you join us again. With that, we'll say good morning.
Thanks, Mark. Bye-bye.